Welcome to my session. I'll just give you a handout. Please don't look. We'll give you all the answers. Perfect. And you've got one, haven't you? Yeah. Right. What we're going to do today is just look about autism. Our objective is to develop an understanding of autism and engage with the child effectively. We're going to look at our experience first, just so that I can get a grasp of what your knowledge is on the subject. Personally, I've been working with autism and children for about 15 years. What experience have you got with autism? Who wants to go first?
None.
None?
Or very little. Very
Very
little.
little.
I exercise young adults and adults with autism.
That's right.
I've worked with children and I've now worked with adults with autism, but that's not all.
So you've had a mix of both children, haven't you? Which do you find the easiest?
I don't know, I think the adults really.
Yeah?
The ones I work with, yeah.
Right. Oh dear. Right. Autism, people look at children with autism and there's a preconception that it's really sad and, what poor child, having all this thrown upon them. But what we need to look at is they don't know any different from what they've been brought up with. And what we can do is look at this and say, well, is it half empty or half full, that glass? And all we can do is actually help fill that glass for them and make life better for them, rather than look at it as a negative that they've got autism. Okay? So in pairs, what I'm going to get you to do is look at what makes up an autistic child. Okay? I'm going to give you a sheet of paper if you can work in twos. And for you as a 3, that's good. Another 2.
Thank you.
What I want you to do is define what an autistic child is made up of and how that would impact on their life. Yeah, so what makes up somebody who's got autism? Yeah? Everybody clear with Do you want the light on or alright? Yeah? I'll put the light on. I can't see.
It's a difficult show fiction.
Or they move just to be the same.
Yeah.
If you move
Understand
something,
your emotions.
It's definitely
Yes.
emotional understanding. Not like any physical touch at all. I find that really
There we go.
quite scary.
At all.
When you think that
But wow, when it's appropriate,
it's
it's
like the wrong way.
and
I
maybe
suppose I'm just going with what I know from society.
strangers.
It's labelled as
Female
autism. That shouldn't define the child.
Sexual preference.
It's what you use.
Right.
Yeah,
What
it's
you
different, but yeah.
It's a touch issue. When I sit in the chair, it's
it's very difficult for children to be actually diagnosed unless they've got it severely.
Is there not
It's an ongoing thing for us.
Yeah. Because people say they've got it,
very
but
intelligent?
have they reported any level of
Like
the course, or do you see what I mean? Because they're very simple adults.
They always change routine. It's all
Keep
things
working.
stuff down.
How are we getting on?
So it's like sort of liking for routine.
The world's good difficult.
Yeah.
It's a good
Social
exercise.
skills and emotional skills.
So when
For me, it's
Children
hard.
confuse it with ADHD.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, there's quite a lot of
behaviour
people
really
that people find as autism.
they can concentrate on certain things, but then they can concentrate on other things.
It's not my special.
Yeah.
You see what I mean?
But it is that last week.
Come on, you're an expert.
Routine, I know they love routine. But it was like, oh, that sounded wrong.
Routine.
Yeah, things they want to know.
Oh, routine.
Yeah, sorry, yeah, routine, routine thing.
I've got to go back to the garden again.
Yeah,
It was eight.
there was a yeah, it's got to be a routine. Things that will change, you need to know before. Empathy, no empathy for anyone.
Is it unsettling to have change? Is it more unsettling than really fun?
Yeah, yeah.
Must be quite lonely. It's a lonely.
Have a couple more minutes on that one.
And then like no one knows it's we are perceptions though.
Often high performance and any sort of photographic memory is
Is there a tendency for violence? Frustration?
They don't know how to deal with that.
So it's a communication. Is it not right? Unusual level of focus. Because sometimes it can be like kind of talent thing,
Right then. How are we doing? We've got something written down now. Everybody got something down now? Yeah. Right. So what we're going to do now is look at these three: social communication, social imagination, and impairment of social interaction. I'll just underline that. This is the triad of impairment. The three things that would have to be in place for somebody to get a diagnosis of autism. Obviously, we've got a boy and a girl there, but it's more prevalent in young boys than it is young girls. Why? I have no idea. But there are definite figures for boys being the prominent child with autism. So some of the stuff we've got down there now, I'd just like to shout out where do you think that would fit with these on here. So who would like to shout out something that,
So we could just see the world with different eyes.
right,
So I guess that could fit under the social interaction,
right?
or the communication, or the imagination.
So all three.
Yeah.
Yeah, which seems to be with everything that you're going to come out with will possibly be that it could fit into any different format. 1, 2 or 3 of the impairments that we've got there. Any others?
Yeah, it's just got a lack of social skills in regards to like empathy, like reading people's body language and facial expressions.
So social communication.
Yeah.
Yeah. Social imagination. Examples of somebody being in a car, the car rolls over but they're on the way to chip shop. Kid gets out of the car and wants to go and get chips.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, because that's what I'm doing.
Doesn't matter what's happened.
No,
Okay.
that's actually a situation that has happened. It does happen quite regularly. You know, something will happen in the child's life. It's not necessarily their fault or not related to them, but they've already set what they're doing, and that's where you'll have problems. So any other interesting.
We've put routine, which is sort of linked with that as well, isn't it?
Yeah. Okay, so has everybody got this now then? You know, these are the three significant factors that need to be in place to actually get a diagnosis eventually of autism.
So is it all to do with interaction with other people really? Because the social is the thing in all those, you know.
It can be how you play. It can be related to the environment they're in. It could be something internal that we perceive as being interaction or imagination. We can't tell, we just have to go on our instincts really. That's what's difficult with diagnosis. You know, people are guessing really and looking at the outside to see what's what. Okay, does that answer that question? No.
Yeah, I guess. Well, it's like it's saying autism isn't necessarily just one thing. And
No.
It's more just.
It's individual to the person. You know, autism is a label that people are given so they can get support and help. But you very rarely get two autistic children that are identical. And you can say that person's autistic because of this. You know, they're all individual and have their own quirks and little things that they will do that make them individual. Okay. Right, that's taken from the National Autistic Society. Just explains all three impairments, the triad there. It's in your handout, so you don't need to read it now. But it's there for future reference, which you can take home with you. So you've got a child, profoundly autistic. How do you engage with them? Okay, using balloons, a ball, playing cards. So you need to be able to communicate with the child to get anything from them. It's very difficult. It's very difficult to actually engage with somebody who has no social interaction, no skills to communicate with you, can be on occasions quite aggressive or behaviourally unbalanced. So you have to be very careful. You can't just come in and say, "Hello Johnny, let's go," because that's not going to work. So what we're going to do now is a group activity. I'm going to open my little box and bring out some toys. Automatically, without John knowing, automatically I threw some towards John, hit a ball, it's on left hand in the car park. But he automatically moved. He automatically gave me eye contact. Now, if he was really very withdrawn, very enclosed in his own world, maybe that might be the first thing that gets him engaged with me. He might pick it up and throw it back at me with quite a lot of vengeance. But again, that's something that is given with that engagement. So it's looking at ways to use things that you wouldn't normally do with a child. Things that, here we go. Right, so if I give you a balloon, right, I don't hope it got enough. Sorry John, didn't have to have playing cards. There is some playing cards. Right, you've got a child, what are you going to do with that balloon? Exactly. What are you going to do with that balloon when there's a child sitting there and is very withdrawn, maybe quite upset? You don't really know them, but you want to get to know them, you want to support them. You know, what are you going to do? You've got to use what's there around you. So I want you to explore what you can do with that other than whatever.
start off with balloon. Just because my daughter's experiences of my daughter doesn't like balloons. She's an adult and she doesn't like balloons because she used to go to firing range when she was little and doesn't like the sound. So I tend to, unless I know the child is okay if the balloon pops.
Unfortunately, you don't know that.
Yeah.
And you can't always get it right. But you need to try something.
Maybe you could just blow it up and let it go.
Let it go.
It doesn't have to pop.
Yeah.
And then you've got something funny flying
Oh,
down
no.
through. I must do it.
Yeah. What are you going to do with those, John? Shuffle them. Yeah?
Like hand them.
See, I worked with a child because she used to do this all the time. Okay? Now I could engage with him by doing the same. And he'd respond by just, you get the feeling, he'd look at you, you get a bit of eye contact. And you wouldn't know why you're doing this. He would know why he's doing it. But I wouldn't. And it wouldn't matter if we did that for an hour, 2 hours. I was actually engaging with him and there was something going on. And you can always build from that. If there's nothing there, you've got nothing to start with. One of the best ones is just throw them in the air. Yeah. You know, it gets a response. And from that you can build. Okay. Any questions on that? We get what we're getting at.
Is it like when the reason they got no social skills is because that almost like for their brain is not important. They're so focused in their brain on just what they need to do. The social skills stuff is like inappropriate. I just need to focus on specific things.
Now, in autism, you've either got somebody who's profoundly autistic,
Right.
where they're really insular, you find it very difficult to communicate or get anything from them. They're stuck in whatever they're doing. Or you can have somebody on the spectrum that you're very difficult to actually notice as any significant problem at all. And quite recently, you get quite a lot of parents that are starting to get diagnosed in later life because they've gone all the way through quite happily, but then something's just not right there. It's like I put all my saucepans and everything right, and I even tried to move the table earlier to get it in line. You know, we've all got something inside us that, you know, theirs is just more profound, and it's just trying to get in there, because what you want to do is be able to allow them to fill that glass up and explore life a bit more.
So this card thing you do with that young man, let's say that was his language, and you just go over that, that's the way you talk to him. Does he ever just come over and say to you, just start doing the cards, hoping that you interact with him?
You know, but at first it's a singular activity that child does, and will do. They just flick them over the table, and what you're trying to do is engage with that child. So what better way of doing it is doing the same, but not with them.
It's almost like we've got the problem, isn't it, actually? It's
Yeah.
kind of like they're going, you stupid human being, you don't understand what's going on here. Just listen, and then, yeah, right.
I mean, we're trying to get into their world. They're quite
Yeah.
happy in their
Yeah.
world 98% of the time. As long as they feel safe and comfortable, and nothing's going against them.
So can I ask, is this classified a mental illness? Is it classified a disability? What is the classification that it fits into?
I believe it's a disability.
Yeah, it's not mental health.
It's not mental health.
Mental health can be part of it, but it's very difficult with somebody you can't communicate with. That's what they find, you know, is that, you know, children that could have a mental illness alongside everything else that you can't have.
Lifelong pervasive developmental disorder, I think you call it.
Yeah. Okay. Right, so we've used those. Yeah, it's not working. Alright. what we're going to do now is just listen. We're going to be quiet for a second, which will be nice for you because I won't be talking. And look at the environment where we meet with a child. We think it's quite quiet in here. If you just be quiet for a second or two, and just see it, you know, it's quite noisy. And for children with autism, they can have very heightened senses. Yeah? So, okay, I might not be able to speak, but I will definitely know what you're made of and what you're prepared to be put up with, because I'll have analysed you and I'll know who I can get away with stuff. And likewise, you know, with noises, they can be a big trigger in the child's life. So just looking at when you go to communicate or engage with somebody, what the environment's like beforehand. Also, we're just going to look at a play activity. It's a bit, children like trains. I like trains. Autistic children like repetition. They like things that continue perpetually. If we just listen to this for a while, I used to work with a young guy who used to lie on the floor with a plastic Tony train set, and he just used to allow the train to go right past his face. And you would think that that child's not getting anything from that. Why is he doing that? But if you can put yourself in that scenario and then just listen to this. How's that feel?
A lot of rhythm.
Mm.
And rhythm is quite soothing.
It's constant.
So,
Constant rhythm.
And you think, you wouldn't hear that when you're just in the room with the child. But when you're right up close to it, they're drawing all that information in. And that's what's keeping them, and that's what's entertaining them. That's what's relaxing. And all you can see is a kid lying by the train. So it's looking at things slightly different. You know, look at the noise in the place, look at the lighting. And look at getting down to that level and doing stuff that you think, oh, well, I'm an adult, I shouldn't be doing that. Because the easiest bit is working with children, playing with them. And that goes the same with young adults as well. You know, is get onto a level where you're equal, and you will be able to engage if you start acting and doing things slightly differently than what you'd expect. Just to summarise, obviously, impairment of social imagination. You may find, anybody got any ideas what that is now? Anybody going to tell me what that is?
So not being able to think what someone else would think, like being empathetic for yourself in their situation.
Yeah. What about social interaction impairment? Anybody got any remedy with that one?
Not necessarily want to interact with other children.
And to be honest, why should they if they don't want? You can't make somebody. You know? What about social communication?
Yeah, colloquialisms or like sarcasm, I've noticed that I work with post-16 and I forget myself and say something ridiculous, like teach them surfing, say I'm going to wipe out. They'll go off and sit down because they literally think I was going to wipe them out, as in, and I didn't realise, it just didn't occur to me. The language that I was using.
I worked with a young guy who, very similarly, I told him a joke, or a bit quirky, and I thought he didn't hear me. So I said, didn't you hear me? He went, yeah. I just didn't think it was funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. So who's got the impairment of social communication. Okay. I just want to leave with this, that an autistic child is just that, a child first. And if we remember this and see each child with this in mind, we're already getting out of the box and beginning to think differently. Okay. Because that's all it is, really, a label. And the children, that's what we should be thinking, it's a child first. And if you're working with the child, regardless of everything else, you won't go too far wrong. Okay, have you got any questions before we finish?
So your job with these children is to try and find a way of communicating with them, really, is it?
Where I used to work with children, it was an assessment unit for children who had sort of like gone off the rails. Something can trigger. You can go along as a child quite happily in an autistic world. I had a child whose dog died, and his teacher was quite loud in the classroom. So it could have been any one of the two. The year before he went through school without a problem. The next year he was always been took outside, stand outside the class. He had the trauma of his dog, which was his best friend dying. And between that, you couldn't say what it was. But he then became very upset, very distressed for quite a long period of time. I have no reason other than that. And it takes a long time then